All right, if you're gearing up for the CAPM exam, you already know stakeholder communication is a huge deal. But let's be honest, it's also one of the trickiest parts, right? Well, in this special preview from us here at Exam Coaches, we're going to show you how to ditch the flashcards and start thinking like a real pro.
Yeah, everyone says communication is key, but the real million-dollar question is, how does the CAPM exam twist that simple idea into those tricky questions? You know, the ones that can make or break your score? That's exactly what we're going to dig into right now. Okay, so here's the real challenge. The biggest hurdle for so many people trying to pass the CAPM. It isn't just memorizing the terms. Nope. It's knowing how to actually use them when you're staring at the clock during the exam.
Sound familiar? I bet it does. You've got all the definitions down cold, and then bam! The exam hits you with a super complex scenario. And suddenly, it's not about what's correct, it's about what's best. Or what's the very first thing a business analyst should do? These are the questions. This is where so many people get tripped up.
And that right there, that's the heart of the problem, isn't it? I mean, it's one thing to know what a stand-up meeting is from a textbook, but it's a completely different ballgame to know if that's the right call when a project is starting to go sideways. Closing that gap, the one between knowing the word and knowing the move, that's the secret to passing.
So, the big question is, how do you do it? How do you build that better approach? Well, instead of just trying to memorize endless lists, the trick is to use simple, really powerful decision frameworks. These are the tools you can actually lean on when you're in the exam.
Think about it like this. It's not just about having a big toolbox full of stuff. It's about becoming the expert, the person who knows exactly which tool to grab, no matter what crazy situation the exam throws your way.
Okay, let's put this into practice. Take a look at this. This is a classic CAPM-style question right here. You've got a bunch of things to juggle. A big group of stakeholders. You got to be fast. And it's just a minor change. So what's your gut say? Let's break it down and see how our framework makes this so much easier. See, this is the moment you stop guessing and you start analyzing. A stand-up meeting? Yeah, it's fast for sure. But for a large group, not so great. An email, on the other hand, well, that gives you a formal record and it hits everyone's inbox instantly. By just breaking it down with this simple framework, the best choice just kind of pops out at you. Now, that is strategy. That's not just memorization.
Okay, that was cool, right? Now let's take that same framework thinking and apply it to another area the CAPM exam just loves to test, the very specific role of the business analyst when it comes to communication.
All right, here's another one for you. Picture this. Things are getting tense on the project. A key stakeholder is totally confused about a requirement, and you can just feel that scope creep starting to, well, creep in. The exam asks, what is the BA's first move? Man, this is where having a clear playbook is an absolute game changer.
And here it is, the playbook. The number one priority for a BA in this spot is always, always, always to go back to the source of the confusion and clarify those requirements. Before you start pulling people into meetings, before you try to manage expectations, you have to make sure everyone is on the exact same page. It's that step-by-step logic that nabs you the points every single time.
And this is so important. These aren't just some random tips we pulled out of a hat. No way. Every single framework, every playbook we teach is built directly from the core concepts that you are guaranteed to see on the exam. So, let's tie this all together, shall we? This isn't about learning two totally separate things, like communication channels over here and BA roles over there. It's all about seeing how they connect, how they work together to make a project successful. And honestly, this quote from the study guide really says it all. It doesn't matter if you're choosing the right email or clarifying a tricky requirement. Every single thing you do in communication is about one thing: getting everyone aligned, keeping them in the loop, and pushing towards that same goal. That is the big picture the CAPM exam is really testing.
So, to boil it all down, this is the exam coach's difference. We don't just throw a list of terms at you and say, good luck.
Nope, we train you. We help you build that analytical muscle so you can walk into any question, take it apart, find the real problem, and pick the best strategy with total confidence.
Because here's the bottom line. The exam isn't really testing your ability to memorize a dictionary. It's testing your judgment, your ability to think like a project manager. And knowing the right communication strategy, that's almost always the key that unlocks the correct answer.
Look, this was just a little preview of how we do things.
the full in-depth framework for absolutely mastering stakeholder communication, plus everything else you need, it's all waiting for you right inside Exam Coaches.